CSS is what you use to give the page a certain aspect. It has to do with colors, with font sizes, and it serves as a way of separating what's the structure, the content of our page, which is done in HTML, from the appearance. You could, in theory, have more than one CSS file and have, for instance, one CSS file apply for a certain version and a different one for another one. So think that maybe different clients will have different CSS rules on how their view of the page looks, or you could have CSS files that are different for web and mobile. And I'm going to show you in this lesson 3 ways of adding CSS to your document. The first way that we'll look, the first manner, is to add a style tag. And inside the style tag, you can add CSS code. When working with CSS, things usually work the following way. Firstly, you select something from the document. So it could be a selection that includes, say, all title 2, or it could be a more specific selection, such as I want this particular list element to be selected. So I'm going to select here the entire body of the page. When you want to select something by its tag, you just write the tag inside your CSS code. And then you open curly brackets, and inside those curly brackets, using indentation hopefully, but you don't have to, you'll add certain rules to modify the appearance of what you've selected. So select something and then change the appearance of that selection. I've selected the body and I want to change its background color. There are a lot of CSS properties that you can access, and we'll cover some of the main ones throughout this series. When you enter a color, you could enter you can write the color in English. Some of the most commonly used colors are recognized, for instance yellow, or you could also write the hexadecimal number, which you can grab from any painting program. When you have a color picker, it usually shows the hexadecimal value. We'll look at that as well in a bit. So this is one of the ways of adding CSS, which is adding style tags in your HTML code. The second way of adding CSS has to do with adding the CSS on the specific element. So that serves as a selection. You just add a style attribute, and this basically means that I've selected this particular title 2, not all titles 2, and I'm going to say that I want this one to have a background color of green. When you add the style in the tag itself, it always has a priority over any more general rules that you might have defined. Now, important thing, adding CSS code inside the HTML document, like I'm doing now, is not the most recommended way of doing it, because, as I mentioned earlier, you want to have a clear separation of structure / content from appearance. And if we want to have, so the best way to do it is to have external CSS files. And I've created a file called style.css. CSS files are also just text files. And I'm going to add the link to that file in the head of my document. So this is referring to a file called style.css, which I've opened as well. So let's take a look at that file. I'm going to use, I've opened the entire folder by going to File, Open Folder, and this should probably be in English just to make it easier for you. So you go to File, you open Folder, and then you open the entire folder where all of your files are. And once you do that, you can use Control Tab or Command Tab just to switch between the files that you have open. So I'm in style.css now. I'm gonna get rid of this rule here, and I'll be adding that same rule but in style.css. So you can see that this is much it looks much cleaner than having it in the HTML code itself. So just to summarize, CSS is used to take care of the appearance of your page. You can have CSS in your HTML document by using style tags. You can also do what's called inline CSS on the actual tags, but the most recommended way is to have an external file called style.css. I mean, you can call it however you want, but it's best if it's outside of the HTML document.